two types of energy. And the key to this concept that I teach in my book, Shifting the Field, is all about shifting your energy. And so Julia spoke to this already today, right? Everything is energy. You know, the thoughts are, this probably isn't new news for people here, but our thoughts create our feelings, create our actions, right? And the vibration from which we are operating, and that affects what shows up in our world. Now, I believe it affects what we become aware of in our world, right? The things in our world are already there. It's just like we don't see things that aren't aligned with our energy. And so we're always coming from one of two places energetically. And I'm gonna make the most of my little flip chart here. So there are two types of energy. Default energy and sourced energy. So I would love if someone wanted to share, because I love interaction. What do you think of, even when you hear me say this, what do you think of when you think of default energy?
Status quo.
Status quo, awesome. What else?
Just the norm, like kind of what you default to in maybe fear or just what is the, I guess, kind of the same as status quo, but you know, just what you default to.
Yeah, I love it. It's what you default to, and it is usually in fear or some kind of like survival mechanism, right? So we all have ways that we learned growing up to survive in life. And when something feels out of our element, we might default to that. So the default energy has to do with our past, right? Something that happened in the past that we decided, if this ever happens again, this is how I survive, right? So it's old energy, stuck energy. It also has to do with our future. And specifically, trying to control our future, right? So again, we default to, well, in the past, when I behaved this way, I got this result. So let me behave this way again so I can control the future. And sometimes our commitment to controlling the future feels more important than actually being alive in the moment. Has anybody ever noticed that? Yeah, it's like, okay, I know I could expand here. I know I could take a risk. I know I could show up differently, but that feels really out of control. I don't know who I would get to be. And so I'm just going to stick with what I know. And we're making these choices all the time. Okay. And by the way, the key to transformation is there's nothing wrong with any of this, right? It's just awareness. It's just awareness of where we are. So in contrast, who has a sense of what sourced energy might be?
I think it may be a connection to the higher levels of energy, higher frequencies of something we learned from that place.
Intuitive inspiration.
I love that. I might steal that. Yeah. So where does source energy arise? If it's not in the past and we're not trying to control the future, where does it come from?
Within?
Within? Yeah, totally. It's this intuitive from within, and it's in the present moment. That's why I love that intuitive inspiration, right? It's like in the present moment, when I let go of all of this, I get to decide in the moment how I feel inspired to be. And that energy feels alive, it feels vibrant, it's expansive, right? Whereas this can tend to feel heavy or dull or like I've been here, done that, right? It's not even interesting to us, let alone to other people. So can we start to see how this shift actually would make your marketing better and easier? People would notice you more, all of the things. I know this afternoon, Davia is going to be talking visibility, right? So sourced energy really can help you to be more visible. Whoever's techie here needs to help me not get these reminders that make noise. So what I want you to tune into is, where are you today? Where are you today coming into this day? And remember, there's no good, bad, right, or wrong. Okay. When we all go here and we all have access to this, right? Some of us are here more than others. And sometimes when we're here, it's like the most potent time in our life for transformation. Like, we live with this idea that we should always be here. But if we don't go here, there's nothing to transform. And actually the process of transformation is what sources the new energy. So we've all had those times, right, where we have an experience that maybe isn't our favorite, right? Where things get sticky and tough. And it's like, oh, I know I'm just stuck. There's something I'm not seeing. Whatever that is, or maybe something goes wrong in your life. If anyone was on the pre-note that I did, I'm in Texas and I was coming out of our snowmageddon, right? Which was like a sticky experience. This is fuel for our transformation and fuel for our growth. So there's no good, bad, right, or wrong. What is amazing is knowing where you are. Because when you know where you are, then you can be intentional about how you're moving forward, right? So specifically today, you're going to get a lot of information. You're going to connect with a lot of different people and learn different concepts. And the question is, are you here? If you're in this energy this morning, are you here for a transformation, right? If you're already here, then you gather information, make connections, right? And that's why you're here today. And there's not a right or wrong answer. And it's not that everybody has to participate in the same way. So I just want to empower you to tune in to where you are. I'm going to read the chat for a minute, and then I'm going to teach you, how do we get from here to here? Okay, we're going to talk about that next. Sourced energy is connected to our true purpose. Totally. And I'll give an example, right? A lot of the clients I work with, when they get to clearing this, which we're going to talk about how you do that, and they're creating in the moment how they want to be, it's things like playful, joyful, expressed, right? Playful is a big one. Well, because so many of us as business leaders were taught that that's not an okay energy to be in, right? Like, you have to be serious and professional and look a certain way and all of those things. And so creating the energy of playful, once you're in that and you integrate it, now it just becomes a part of who you are. And then you'll end up here again, right? And that'll be a default. And it's like, okay, what's the next area of growth that I want to integrate? And the more we do this, the more aligned we are to our true purpose. But it's not like there's somewhere to get. It's not like we're trying to get it all right. It's the pure joy of being in this energy is enough. It's enough. It's okay if we have all kinds of other things we haven't healed, right? Jacqueline says, I'm slipping back into default due to stress, working hard to stay in source. Great. So Jacqueline, if you could just let yourself own that. Thank you for sharing. And I appreciate that vulnerability to be able to say, you know what? Like, really own, gosh, I have been stressed and I'm here for a breakthrough around that stress today. And I'm going to turn myself over to this experience knowing I'm going to get there. That's a really, really powerful place to come in. Christy, slipping into default is our shadow where we can learn great lessons. Completely. There's so much energy there, right? We want to suppress it and pretend it's not there. Like, I don't have these things going on. I don't feel sad. I don't feel angry, right? But there's so much energy in really allowing it to come through. Default is the plaster of our gold self. I love that, Dina. Thank you. Okay, so let's dive into how do we go from here to here? And this is what I call the anatomy of a transformation. So let me start by saying, I said earlier, transformation is creating a new awareness that permanently shifts the way we show up and interact with life. So when we really give ourselves an experience of our new sourced energy, we can't unknow it. right? When we allow ourselves to be playful and people still take us seriously as a business owner, then we can't unknow that information and we can have access to it indefinitely. So there's 3 stages of transformation that some of you might go through today. Okay. The first is commitment. Now, I specifically use this to teach business owners how to structure their offerings, coaches, consultants, creatives, and healers, how to structure their offerings so they're transformational and they can support their clients in shifting the field first, right? Going from here to here first, and then you do the rest of your work with them. Because who's easier to work with, a client who's in default or a client who's sourced? Who's easier and more fun to work with? Definitely over here, right? So as leaders, if we can hold space for noticing if someone's here, helping them get here, it makes all the rest of the things we teach so much easier. If you're someone who provides a service and clients are missing deadlines, right? Helping them shift their energy is going to totally change how they relate to that, for example. So step 1 is commitment. When we are committed, not just, like, oh, I'd like to publish a book, or I'd like to, in my case, host retreats. That's a good idea, right? But when we're really committed, we're committed to actually making this shift that helps us be good at it. We're committed because to get from here to here usually requires some sort of what I call bad news insight, right? Where we realize something about how we've been operating that doesn't work anymore. So commitment is the first step. The second step is what I call the sourced experience. This is, you can kind of think of this as, I think it was Christy who said shadow, right? This is like an experience where we get to see our shadow. It's an experience in contrast. It's where something happens that is a result that's different than what we thought we wanted, right? That causes us to actually move through this process of transformation. Within the sourced experience, there's 3 stages: release, receive, rise. Release, receive, rise. Release is all about releasing control. Okay, so this is where we get, and this is why sometimes it happens that it's like shit hitting the fan, right? Because that's sometimes the only thing that lets us release control or helps us to. But it's really when we're saying, I'm going to stop trying to control the future and I'm going to trust that there's a better way of being. I might not know what this is yet, but I'm at least willing to release that idea of control. Within that, we receive truth. We receive what we haven't seen about what's been hidden from our view that's actually been controlling us, right? Whatever it was that happened when we were 6 years old, or some belief we took on, about what it is to be in business. We're willing to see a new truth about that. And then rise is you rise in the new sourced energy. And so when I work with business leaders who want to work in this way, I really teach specific skills of like, what are the questions you ask? What's the energy you're looking for here to help your client move through this process? The third stage then, when we're in our new energy, right, we're here, is integration. And we spoke about this a little bit in the networking too. Getting the aha, realizing, oh my gosh, I can be playful is one thing, but then actually being it. Has anybody ever had the experience where they realized, oh, I could embody a different way of being, but then you go to your first meeting wanting to be that, and it ends up being that exact perfect person who makes you question everything, Like, no, I can't really be playful here. So integration is so important. And I love for my clients to have programs and offerings that are specifically around helping someone integrate. So you might be helping them write a book, or supporting them in getting on stage or writing a speech. There's so, helping them with their relationships, with their health, with their intimacy, whatever it is. You can move them through this process to be in a whole new energy, and then help them actually integrate it in their life. And a lot of times people skip this. I think often it's like this sourced experience, this aha, this transformation. Like we so geek out on that. Has anybody ever been there? Like when you help your client get an aha and it's like, woo, okay, great. But then a lot of times we move on to a new aha without properly integrating. Right? I spent 1 year integrating the idea nurture and nourish. I was really working on my own self-love, nurturing myself, nourishing myself in ways that I didn't get when I was a kid. I spent an entire year integrating that message, and it would have been really easy to move on to something else. But that's how long it actually took me to really get it in every cell of my being. So coming back to you and where you are here, and I'm curious what's opening up. I love, thank you for the comments. I love interaction. So I'm curious what's opening up. Please type in the chat. And I'm going to come back to you and your experience here today and what you want to take away from your experience today. So the first piece is commitment, right? We're going to come right back up here. Today could be a sourced experience for you if you feel committed to that. In other words, if you feel like you're in a place where you're committed to go from here to here, then we can create that intention for this day. And no matter what the speakers are sharing, or what, like spirit source is going to be here with you, helping you to release control, receive the truth, and rise. Like you're going to get exactly what you need here through the flow of the content today. If you're already here, right, then there's no need to go through this process today. Like sometimes we end up, feeling like, oh my God, I don't know the truth. I don't know who I am anymore. And no, it's not true. You really do. Right. And this is where there can be a whole lot of disempowerment that comes in the coaching space when someone comes in and said, like, I'm not here to tell you I know where you are better than you know. Right. So let's allow you to be empowered in what it is that you want today. Okay, does everybody got this? I can only see a handful of people, so thank you. All right, so am I committed to a transformation? And this is specifically on, I write it like this for short, to a transformation. Because of course you're committed. You wouldn't be here if you weren't committed. You are committed to something. Am I committed to a transformation today? So there's two things to look at to help yourself discover this. And I'm also going to share this. There's two things to look at to help your clients know if they're committed, and to help you know if your client is committed. This is great to do in your marketing, to do in your sales conversations, to really understand what's going on with your client. So the first is discomfort. And the second is desire. If the discomfort with where you are now is super high, right? Like 8 to 10 high. If your desire for something different than where you are now is 8 to 10 level high, then you want to like come to today with a demand for transformation. Okay? And you will get it. And it doesn't even matter what happens here, you will get it. If you're feeling pretty good about where you are, and there's not something that you are really desiring specifically to change in your life, then come for the information, come for the networking, come to spread your joyful sourced energy to the group. So what would be some discomforts? What does discomfort mean? If you have a discomfort with where you are now, who'd like to share? And I'm reading in the chat a little bit. Julia, I see your hand.
Oh yeah. Yes, it's such a profound place to be, because first of all, you are no longer where you were before, but you're not yet where you want to be. Like, you know that something has to change, and it's inevitable, but there might be some fears because we don't have the clarity yet, or it's something that has been holding us back for such a long time in the past. So how do we get there? And this is the, like, embracing it and allowing it to unfold, to me, is one of the most powerful places in life, because that's the moment of transformation actually being visible, and it is happening in the moment.
Yeah. And when we're committed, it's like we can't not get it. It's going to come. It's going to come through this class. It's going to come through your coach. It's going to come through the universe showing you synchronicities, all the things.
I'd like to say I've experienced discomfort often as uncertainty, not being certain.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also discontent. When I think of discomfort, I think of discontent, and your desire has to be greater than your discomfort.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because transformation can sometimes be sticky, right? Yeah, Jennifer, go ahead and share. And then I'm going to ask everybody to write one sentence about your current level of discomfort.
Sorry, I just shared and then didn't put my hand down.
Oh.
I was talking about discontent.
I couldn't see your face while you were talking. Thank you.
I'll lower my hand.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so just take a moment and just feel into, is there any discomfort? We don't have to manufacture it, right? If there's not, there's not. Totally okay. What is your discomfort level right now with where you are? And there may be some specific part of your business that's bugging you, or maybe it's a personal relationship thing, because these things are intertwined, right? Whatever's happening in our personal life and how we're showing up there. If we have a situation in our personal life that's triggering our default energy, we can't not bring it to the business, because we're integrated whole beings as much as we like to compartmentalize. So the second piece is desire. Desire can be just as powerful. Desire, by the way, of spirit. We're often taught, especially as women, that having desires is bad, right? We should, it's selfish. But desire is of spirit. So what is it that you really want? And what's the level of desire for it? Now, I will say, in human design, part of my human design is when someone asks me, what do you want? It's really hard for me to know. Does anybody else have that? Where it's like, I don't know, I want a lot of things. But when I see it, I know it, right? So maybe there's something you've seen, you've been exposed to, that it's like, oh gosh, I really wish I could have a lifestyle like that. Or, God, wouldn't it be great if my business ran like that? Wouldn't it be great if I had extra free time to be with my family? Wouldn't it be great if I could, buy whatever I wanted without having to think about money? What has been coming up for you lately leading up to this as it relates to your desire? And just take a moment and write that down. Audra, I love your share here about the splintered attention. That feels really important. You could bring that to today and get some clarity about that today. Okay, and give yourself a rating on how much you desire this, right? So in Audra's example, the discomfort is feeling splintered between home and work. She's contemplating, do I get a separate space? So feeling into what is the desire, right? Because it feels like the desire may be a separate space, but the desire is, who do you want to be in your work and who do you want to be at home? That's where the real juice is around the desire. And from there, you can sit with what is the right decision. All right, so I have like 1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes. I think my time is up. Does one person want to share their desire, and then we'll move it forward? Just go ahead and unmute if you'd like to. Okay.
I'll share, Darla.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm like you. I've got the open head in human design too. And so there are a lot of things that I desire, but the one thing that I've seen this week that's been desirable to me is a lifestyle where I can be a digital nomad and work from anywhere in a community of other people who are also exploring the world and taking their work with them.
That's really powerful. I hear the clarity of that desire today. And so I invite you to, get level 10 in your commitment to that. And this, as the day unfolds, whatever's here, right? So, and we don't have time to go into it, but there's something here that's having you say that's not practical, or who can be a digital nomad during a pandemic? I don't know. Whatever that is, that's going to get revealed, right? This is the truth over here. It's going to get revealed through your day to day because you're really bringing that commitment forward. And I think that I am turning it over to Robin Finney, who has been a digital nomad for the last couple of years. So it's like the perfect segue. So everybody just take a moment, decide your commitment, and trust yourself. Trust yourself. It's okay if you're here, you want this shift. It's okay if you're not. Trust yourself. All right. I'm going to turn it back to Divya. Thank you so much, everybody. And shiftthefield.com, book April 12th. Thank you. Thank you.